Hello, my name is Jessica. I am a counseling intern at Arcadia University's Counseling Services. Today, I really wanted to talk about scheduling and how important scheduling is, not just for us as college students, but also just people in general, particularly around times when our schedules or life kind of gets put on hold or changes. We've all been experiencing a lot of changes now, and I think setting a schedule, whatever schedule looks right for you, can be really helpful. So today, just for the next couple minutes, I kind of really want to focus on what it's going to look like making a schedule for you and what feels right for you. Because a lot of things have changed for us. A lot of things have become more stressful. And some of the more stressful things come from us not having that set routine that we're used to, especially since we might have gotten used to a lot of the things that we've scheduled and we've kind of focused on. So I am going to share my screen with you. And if you take a look, the first thing I want to focus on is what's called the indivisible self model. And really with this model, it focuses a lot on overall wellness and how our lives are broken into different spheres. The creative sphere, the coping, the social, the essential, and the physical. Now, not only is this model important when we think of, physical health, when we think of coping and wellness, but it's also important to kind of consider this when we think about setting a schedule. Um, and when I say that, what I'm thinking of is in our schedule, it's important for us to focus on putting coping skills in our schedule, having some type of social interaction, even though we're restricted right now, whether it's FaceTime or blogging or some type of internet communication with people. The essential self, things that are important to us, things that mean something to us, things that we want to improve on. The physical self, while we can't go to the gym, maybe going for a walk, maybe doing yoga in our house, things like that. So really all five of these spheres work together to make us an overall whole person. And when we think about creating our own schedule for the day, that's one of the most important things we could think about. How are we going to fulfill each of these different spheres and make us feel whole again? So let me scroll on down. I found this online, and even though it is primarily for children, I really thought that this was important to kind of look at. And it's like, wow, like I can really set my schedule this way. So, of course, the times could change, but think of it this way: setting the same time ish to wake up every day, whether it's 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, maybe not later than 10 o'clock, but whatever maybe you did during the school year. If you had early classes, maybe setting your alarm clock for a similar time and waking up that same time every day, right? That kind of gives you a sense of stability and structure. So wake up time, maybe make breakfast, brush your teeth, get dressed. If you're a shower person in the morning, go for that. Whatever your routine is, try to keep it somewhat the same every day so you have something to look forward to. I love the fact that they put outdoor time first. Granted, this depends on the weather, but I think it's really important when you first wake up to be able to step outside for a minute, open the window, take a minute or two to kind of take a deep breath in and out and smell the air. Really kind of awaken your body. Some people do yoga in the morning, whatever kind of works for you. So wake up, get some outdoor activity going. Um, Research has shown that in the morning, for most of us, we focus the best during that time and we're able to do our work because we're fresh, we're rejuvenated if we've had a good night's sleep. So even some academic time, whether it's reading or maybe doing some journaling or some writing, something maybe without electronics at first, maybe not writing on the computer, maybe journaling or maybe like reading an old fashioned book, you know. Next is creative time. Do something you like to do, maybe something you haven't done in a while. I don't know, maybe pick up a hobby, maybe do some stress balls, maybe do some arts and crafts, design something, do something you've always wanted to do. Again, if you have the material. Or get creative, do some searching and see like what you can use with the things around your house. Make it like a challenge for you. Lunch is, I feel like, something we tend to forget when our schedule goes a little wonky. Um, Having lunch around the same time each day can be really helpful for your metabolism, but also your mental health, right? Like sometimes, even if we haven't done anything all day, we forget to eat, right? Like there are plenty of times where 4 or 5 o'clock rolls around and I'm like, Did I eat today? What happened? Right? So making sure you have a set time to eat and putting it in your phone, typing in your phone lunchtime and like taking a break from whatever you're doing and having lunch. Maybe even if it's nice out, having lunch outside, or with the window open or something. Then our lovely household chores. So this doesn't have to be like vacuum the whole house and straighten up everything and bleach everything. This could just be, you know what, my room was really messy last night. I want to clean it today. Having a really clean, organized workspace can help you feel more productive and help you feel better able to focus. So maybe something like, I don't know, cleaning the doorknobs, organizing the books that you've always wanted to, maybe going through your book bag and organizing the paperwork, something like that. A lot of these things are broken up into hour chunks or half-hour chunks. And that's where the flexibility comes in, right? Like for some people, doing a half hour of like chores might be tedious and too much for them. For other people, it may not be enough. So kind of play around with this and see what works with your schedule. Quiet time. I feel like we always forget about quiet time. Maybe take a nap. Maybe you read something that you like to do. Maybe do a puzzle. Maybe do some yoga, something that you find relaxing. Maybe play with your cats, maybe do something like that. Then some more academic time, because even though the world has stopped in many places, school hasn't stopped, right? We still have responsibilities. We still have things to do. So setting a time, an hour and a half, an hour, where it's like, okay, I'm going to set a schedule. I'm going to do my English today. I'm going to do my French today, whatever it might be. And allow yourself that time to do that. Maybe even having a board with post-it notes on it. Today, I definitely need to get done these things. Tomorrow, I definitely need to get done these things, right? Like having it laid out in front of you can be really helpful. Then after all that exciting work, it's really important to get back outside, right? You started your day that way, you want to end your day that way. So maybe going for a walk, maybe if you have any pets or dogs, maybe taking them for a walk, maybe even just sitting outside on your front step if that's possible, or like sitting by a window with like the window open, the shades open, whatever you can make work for you. Definitely try to make it work. Then dinner time. Again, same thing with lunchtime, having a set time where you make sure that you sit down and eat. Put everything else away. Don't focus on, even if that book is really good, put that book away and really focus on dinner. Maybe have some music playing, maybe, talking with family, talking with friends, whatever it might be, but really use that time to focus on eating and eating mindfully. Slow chewing, deep breathing, things like that. When we go throughout our daily schedule for the day, we tend to forget to be mindful. We tend to forget to really kind of be present with what we're doing. And that can lead to stress. That can lead to feeling like you don't have structure, even though when you put structure in place, it's there. If we're not mindfully putting it in place, we might as well not be doing structure, right? So being mindful during this whole process is really important. Free time. This, for the last couple of hours before you go to bed, do something that feels good for you. They do say to avoid screen time, sorry guys, before bedtime. But again, some people are able to do that, some people aren't. It's kind of up to you. Do what feels right to you. If you do screen time, I know sometimes they have like blue screen options or different things like that. But do something relaxing before bed. But stay out of the bedroom during that time, right? You want your bedroom to be, if possible, you want your bedroom to be the place that you sleep at only. Or maybe do some like relaxation things in there. So after the free time, set a time for bed. It doesn't have to be 9 o'clock. I feel like for a lot of us, 9 o'clock may be a little early, but have a time where you consistently go to bed each day. Of course, some days it might be later because, life happens and things happen. You might be watching a good movie and not want to go to bed quite yet. But really try to keep a schedule as consistent as possible, especially now. And have a bedtime routine. I feel like a lot of times we forget about a bedtime routine. So, putting on pajamas, brushing your teeth, having your clothes set out for the next day, if that's something that you do, getting things ready, organizing things, whatever it might be. Maybe in your family, you guys go down and have like a warm cup of tea or, a warm glass of milk or something before you go to bed. Whatever it is, have that routine ready for you. So that way it eases yourself into sleep. That's also really good for, good sleep hygiene habits as well. All right. So Screenshot this if you want to. I feel like this is a really good thing. You can also just Google like daily schedule ideas, and a lot of good ideas come up. But I thought this was like a good start for kind of getting an idea of what the schedule could possibly look like. And as we scroll on down, I found this and I thought a lot of these things were really interesting, not just for online college students, but also just in general, right? So list your priorities. A lot of times when we don't have that typical schedule of getting up, going to class, seeing the teachers, having physical reminders, we have to be a little more independent and reliant on ourselves. That can be really overwhelming. So really having a place, kind of like what you see here, like having a place where you can put down all of your priorities, all the things that you need to get done, and kind of lay them out nicely, like things that you need to do today, things you need to do tomorrow, things that need to get done by a certain date, but also things that you have done. I feel like a lot of times we forget to focus on everything we've done throughout the day, and instead we focus on all the things that need to get done, which makes us feel worse about ourselves, right? So also having a thing of like a check off. Some people actually like the having like a checklist and being able to cross things off on the checklist. That can be really helpful for some people. So again, whatever works for you. So 1, list priorities. 2, I feel like a broken record, but schedule sleep, right? Whether it's those nap times during that relaxing time that we talked about earlier, or going to bed at the same time every day, having your bed set up in a way that makes it most conducive to good sleep, right? Even though the picture here shows a cute little cat cuddling, sometimes our furry friends might get in the way of our healthy sleeping habits. So finding a way that you can have good sleep, and also be able to sleep throughout the night and feel good when you wake up. That's important. So that could look different for every person. And I feel like we could probably spend hours talking about sleep hygiene, but that's definitely important. We are all guilty of this right now, right? Avoiding rigidity. A lot of us are so stuck on the way things were and the way that we want things to go back to that we forget to focus on the moment, right? So try to be less rigid. You know, yes, things were very different a month ago, right? We had our schedule, we were doing things, we felt good. Maybe, you know, we were kind of on the roll, we were at Arcadia doing stuff, and it just stopped suddenly, right? So it's hard for us not to be rigid and want to go back to those old ways and kind of be hard on ourselves when we can't go back. So be self-accepting, be less rigid, and kind of like those priority lists that you have. If you don't get all of it done today, that's okay. There's tomorrow, right? Like we don't have to be so rigid and hard on ourselves sometimes, even though it's easier said than done. But focusing on being less concrete and less rigid in the way that we see and do things, I think can be really, really helpful. Number 4, consistent small tasks. So that's the problem, and it's tough being a college student, right? But we do have big assignments coming up, right? And sometimes we are all guilty of procrastinating, but we sometimes need to not chunk things together so much and take baby steps, right? Instead of procrastinating and doing all the work the night before, maybe like little things like tomorrow I'm going to read the first 5 pages of whatever. The next day I'm going to read the next 10 pages. The next day I'm going to write the first paragraph of this essay that I have to write, right? Like doing little chunks of it can make it feel less overwhelming, more manageable. Now, granted, you want to make sure that you give yourself enough time so that way there are those baby steps at the end will lead to the finished product and not half done, right? So kind of planning it out a little bit, but also being willing to be flexible, and kind of prioritize what you want to do. So take small steps and be okay with that, you know, because things are different right this second, and they will go back to the way things are, but we have to be, you know, willing to take little steps in the meantime. Next one, schedule space and time. So I realize that for a lot of us, that may not be possible. You know, we might be back home with our parents. We might be sharing a room with someone. There might be a lot of people in the house. There might be a lot of noises outside. So this is kind of dependent on, you know, where you are and what's going on. But really having a place and time where you can devote, you can close the door, tell your family, you know, this is my time. Just give me like 5 minutes to do what I have to. But having a place and having that consistent place every day that you can go to and work on. Again, being flexible, but I think having that environment and making it your environment can be helpful. We don't want to spend too much time on one thing, right? We all love binge watching Netflix or Hulu, right? We all love doing that stuff. And it feels good in the moment, but when you start doing too much of it, that's kind of when symptoms of feeling stuck and kind of blah feeling, you start to feel like almost like sluggish and just not really in the moment, not really present. So really not spending too much time on one thing, right? If you have a big assignment due coming up and you're spending 3 hours on it, you need a break, right? Step away, go take a break, go do some stretching, go for a walk, do something to kind of get out, right? And then come back to it. A lot of times when we take a break and then go back, we feel so much better. So be accepting, be willing to kind of give yourself a break and be nice to yourself. Keep study close. And what I mean by that is, let's say you go for a walk, right? And sometimes we get an inspiration of like, man, I'm feeling really good today. You know what? I should work on that essay right now. Oh, I don't have my books with me. What am I going to do? Keep something with you. Keep a journal. Keep maybe if you have an iPad or something, keep it with you. So when the inspiration does come to feel more productive or to do something, you can stop and do it, right? Instead of by the time you get home or by the time you are able to, that mood might go away, that desire might go away. So we have to kind of take advantage of those moments whenever we can. Understand limits and say no, right? Recognizing that, living at home with family or friends right now can be very difficult. So setting limits, understanding the limits of yourself and other people, and be willing to say no. Be willing to be like, no, I'm too busy today, I can't. Or no, I can't focus on this right now, I need to focus on this, right? Like be more understanding and willing to say no, which is really hard for a lot of us. Find your time, right? For some people, 6 a.m. in the morning is a perfect time to work. They feel productive, they feel energized. Other people, they can't even think about their name at 6 in the morning, right? They might be more productive at 9 o'clock at night, and they might be a night owl, right? That works for some people, that doesn't work for other people. But for whatever works for you, keep it consistent, right? Don't one night work until 2 a.m. and then the next morning, wake up at 6 a.m. and do work, right? You're not giving yourself a break. You're not giving yourself a chance to rejuvenate and energize. So find your time that works for you and try to keep that time your time, right? If between 6 and 7 p.m. after dinner or before dinner, I don't know what time you eat dinner, but if 6 to 7 p.m. works for you, keep it. That's your time. Keep it your time. Dedicated to studying. Sorry, guys, but put your phones away, put any temptation away during that hour or 2 hours or whatever it is, and really kind of invest yourself. I literally leave my phone in the other room, away from me, right? I turn off my iMessage thing. I turn off any temptations that I could possibly have because I know that if the opportunity is there and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm going to be more tempted to look at those things, to let myself get distracted, right? But if they're not in the immediate area, if I have to get up and walk in the other room, it just makes it that much more harder for me to allow myself to get distracted. So dedicate a studying time and stick to it. Getting sidetracked, we are all guilty of this, right? You ever sit down and go to do work and then realize, man, my desk is really messy. I should clean it. Start cleaning it off, feel good. Okay, I should go sit down. You know what? I didn't organize my clothes like I wanted to. Let me go do that now, right? We begin to fall into this pattern of getting sidetracked and distracting ourselves. And then before we know it, it's 10 o'clock at night and we're like, oh, I still have to write that paper, right? So allowing yourself to be distracted for a little bit, but then redirect yourself. Okay, I let myself get distracted. I organize my desk. Now I have to get to work. I'll schedule a time later to clean my clothes. Maybe during my relaxation time later, that'll be something that I do, right? But sometimes we get so distracted, we don't realize that we're doing it. We don't even realize that that's our excuse, right? So realizing that in that moment, I don't actually need to organize my clothes right this second of the day. This is just me kind of trying to avoid and procrastinate. And laugh at yourself and then go back to work, right? We are all guilty of this. So I don't want you to think that this is something wrong or something innately evil or anything in us. We, as human beings, we all fall for these things, right? This is very easy to get distracted, get sidetracked. accepting it, realizing that, you know what, that's part of human nature. Sometimes people have more difficulty with it, sometimes less difficulty with it. But if I recognize it, then I can possibly gain more control from it. Use a calendar or planner. Now, I know a lot of students aren't a big fan of this one, but it really can be helpful. Now, your calendar or planner doesn't have to look like this organized, right? But maybe sticky notes on your wall, maybe something in your phone, like the notepad in your phone or something like that. Doing it, but also keeping track of it, right? I know a lot of times we start with a great list and we're like, this is awesome. I have so many things on my list. And then we forget to check it, right? We forget to go back to it. So maybe even setting an alarm in your phone. Check your calendar, check your calendar. Staying consistent with it, because it's going to be hard at first, right? Keeping a calendar at first, you're going to forget about it. You're going to leave it at home, right? It's going to be hard. But the more you do it, the more you practice, it almost becomes second nature, like innate almost, that you just realize, oh, I have to do that assignment. And before you know it, you're pulling out your planner and you're already writing it in, right? You're not even thinking about it. The sooner you can get yourself to get to that point, the easier it's going to be to kind of help yourself stay organized and set a schedule. Daily review. You know what? We all forget to do this because we focus on all the things we didn't do, but let's look at all the things we did do today. You know, even if you didn't get that essay done, I really relaxed today. You know, I really got a chance to reconnect with my friends. I spent a lot of time with my dog. I spent a lot of time with my cat, right? Like, yeah, some days we don't always check everything off on our to-do list. Sometimes we don't always stick to the schedule, but review what you did do. Review all the positive things that did happen throughout the day. And it might be hard at first, but I'm telling you, I'm willing to bet that there is a lot more good that happens than sometimes we focus. Our mind tends to focus on the negative and nitpick and find all the things that we should have done differently and not really focus on, you actually had a pretty good day. Like there was a lot of good stuff that happened. Use colors, right? Colors have been known to like make your neurons fire a different way. And remember, a lot of people use it as a studying technique, right? If you highlight certain words, it's easier to remember those things. It gets like primed in your memory and you can recall it better, right? So using colors to help you organize things, using colors to help you, keep a schedule. In your mind, literally, okay, this is my yellow time. My yellow time means is relaxation. I'm going to relax now, right? Like building that connection in your mind can be really helpful for you keeping a schedule and keeping organized. Lastly, acceptance and self-compassion. A lot of times we fail to do this because we are constantly hard on ourselves, right? But one thing is you're not alone in this. A lot of people are struggling with figuring out the new normal, right? The new schedule for themselves. And being compassionate with yourself. Like, yeah, this is going to be hard, right? No one could have ever predicted that things would change the way that they did. And being compassionate with yourself and accepting and willing to be flexible can really help you develop a schedule that works for you and a way to stay organized. And this schedule, of course, isn't going to look like the way your schedule was before, and that's okay because things are a little different than they were before, right? An important strength is resiliency, right? Being able to be resilient and to kind of go with the flow, even though we get very, very anxious. I think it's really, really important. The one link that I put here, let me see if I can pull it up. The one link that I put here, it's Inner Health Studio. It's coping skills and relaxation resources. So once you set your schedule and maybe have that little bit of time, maybe around 11 or maybe around 1 or whatever time it might be, having time set aside to take a look at this website. It's called innerhealthstudio.com, and they have different relaxation scripts, different information, different type of coping skills, downloads that you can do. So websites like this, or even just Googling things like this, can be really, really helpful. Like you have a lot of resources at the tip of your fingers, and it can be really helpful to use them. So let me get out of here. So I hope this was helpful. I know it's a lot of information, and I know scheduling is really hard to kind of stick with because it takes practice, it takes routine, but I have all the confidence in the world that you guys are able to do this with some encouragement maybe from your friends and kind of some failures, right? Because, we don't expect to set this schedule and then achieve it right away, right? It's going to be hard. It's going to take some trial and error and figuring out kind of what works for you and what doesn't work for you. But again, number 15 on that list is be be self-compassionate and willing to kind of be flexible and accept that, sometimes things are tough and we have the resiliency to be able to make it through. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you.